the players that were on the teams that were doing my small group sessions, they got so good. Their coaches asked their parents, what have you been doing? And then they reached out. And that's where all these teams came from. Like, I didn't predict that at all.
How do you instill confidence, or how do you develop confidence in your players?
I hate soccer.
Yeah, AJ was telling me, I'm working with this guy. It's called the training pitch. Mm-hmm. And then he would go and train teams and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, what all do you guys do?
Mm-hmm. Well, we do a variety of stuff. Team training is actually, it's kind of how we started, but it's not how we grew. And then this fall, though, now we're training, I think, 9 teams in September and October.
Yep.
And we have a few different ones starting in the winter too. But yeah, we do small groups too. We do clinics and we do summer camps. We also do club sponsored stuff as well.
Good.
So in that case, sometimes they put together, 2 age groups, boys and girls. So it could be 4 teams or 6, just depending on how many the club has. Right. And we'll do, technical trainings for that whole group, whether it be, striker focused, or it could just be literally just first touch focused. So I come up with all different ideas to try to see what clubs would be most interested in and where they think they need the most work.
Right.
And then we put together the content behind it. Yeah. And me and my other trainers go out there and we execute it.
So when you're working with clubs, do you guys go to them?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys go, so they pay for the fields or whatever, mm-hmm. or rent the fields, rent the space, and then you guys just train them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What clubs are you working with?
Delaware Soccer Club, Orchard Park.
Yeah.
We did something briefly with Tonawanda, but Tonawanda SC, but they're still a bit new into the travel space. So
okay.
That one was a little bit shorter lived. West Seneca Soccer Club.
Yep.
We're doing stuff with. This isn't from the club level, but it's more from the team level. But Niagara Pal.
Okay.
I'm close with Brendan. He introduced me to a bunch of the teams, so I'm doing stuff.
Good.
With them. Those are the big ones that are jumping out to me.
How long have you been going with this, with the training pitch?
So I got my first kid, I think, October of 23.
Okay.
But that was more to just kind of do something. I just had a kid, and I wasn't that involved in the community. I wasn't doing that much, and so, had an idea. Well, what if I just start training him, and then 5 months later, then I actually incorporated, got an LLC. So it's about I would say since I took it seriously and was I might as well go for this thing. It's been a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, you've already grown so much. I mean,
I didn't predict it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty goal oriented, coming from the space where I started from, and after this spring, I don't even set goals anymore because I don't know what's going to happen. It's grown way faster than I ever thought it would.
Was that stressful? Were you oh my God, I need help? Well, when did you realize I need to hire another trainer?
Well, when I with my kid, so I just had another kid. So mm-hmm. He's 3 months old. So he was born June 5th, Ari, and so my wife was really big on making sure that, hey, can you be there the first month, as much as possible, because this is our second one, so we just know how bad the first month is. It's totally unpredictable. Sometimes we wake up 6 times at night. Sometimes even during the day, it's just really hard, if they're not taking the bottle or so forth. So 2 hands on deck. And so I was behind that. I agreed with that too. And so at that point, I'm just I need to hire a few people. So AJ had already been working with me for a while.
Yep.
By that point, he hadn't done anything alone though. So he had everything he went to, I was always there. I just needed another person there because the groups were bigger for some of those that I really needed him for. Because I pay attention very closely to the coach to player ratio.
Yep.
And so I was focused on that. So he had to be there for some of that, but he wasn't leading the sessions. And then after that, then I brought on Erin Weir. She played
Yeah.
for Canisius. And then she, other than me, she runs, most of my sessions right now. She's amazing. So the two of them, they were amazing. They covered my parental leave. And then, they're still coaching with me now, but
Right.
they totally covered all the sessions that I had running at that time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then Brian is involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
When did he get involved?
So he got involved, I'm trying to think, maybe July.
Okay.
I can't exactly remember. He comes here and there, though, but unfortunately, I wish I could give him a lot more sessions and work with him and so forth, but can't anymore because he's moving to Binghamton.
He is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's already transitioned out. He moves officially like in a week or something. But yeah, he's taking over Binghamton Rush down there. And so they have a new DOC for Buffalo Rush here. And so
Who's the new DOC for?
I forgot. I saw it on Instagram, but I can't remember who.
Were you involved in the club game at all?
No.
Prior to this?
No.
No? You just wanted to get back in the game?
Yeah. I lived 10 years in New York City.
Okay.
So I studied at Canisius College, grew up in Syracuse, but then came out here. At the time, Jimmy Hesh was the coach.
Yep.
He's actually from Baldwinsville,
Okay.
where I played high school ball. And so I don't know if that's why he really liked me or whatever, but he brought me out to Canisius. It really wasn't on my radar, but he came up here and I love community and so forth. So he was my coach for 2 years there. Then Dermot came in after that. And then when I graduated, I moved immediately to New York City. I had a business idea at the time. All my clients were down there, so I went pursuing that, and that just brought me to New York. And then I was there for 10 years leading sales teams, and then with the kiddos came back to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And then when I was back here and kind of when I had my first kid, then I had the idea came to mind, and then I tried to get my first player, and then I did like 5 months later.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is your wife from Buffalo too?
She's from Elma, born and raised.
Okay, Alma. Okay.
Yeah, we live in Williamsville, but she wanted to be in a different part of Buffalo that she didn't know like the back of her hand.
Right.
So we're both kind of still discovering all the places around Williamsville and so forth, but we love it. Yeah.
When you said the coach to player ratio,
Yeah.
what do you like to have? What do you like to try to keep it at? Like 12, 9?
So for my small group technical sessions, 1 to 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah. If I really get pushed, I'll move it to 8.
Okay.
If like cost is a real concern from the club, and I understand that costs are a concern for a lot of clubs sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I'll increase it to 8, but I really don't like to go above 8. But then if I'm just running like a regular team session that isn't like, the sole focus isn't to work on certain techniques. If it's like, movements in the final third or something like that they want to work on, then, 1 to 12, 1 to 14, I think is fine. Because I think the hardest thing is actually building technique in players. And so you need the attention to do that. And sometimes you kind of got to stop the session for a second to pay attention to a kid. And like, you stop in the session constantly for 12, 14 kids. They start punching each other and doing all sorts of things. It just like gets out of hand quickly. I just know how it is. So I just don't like that. When it's only like 5 of them or whatever and I got to stop, whatever, it's normally fine.
Yeah.
So
does the team coach kind of tell you what they want out of your sessions? Or do you kind of like have a curriculum and then they maybe like chime in and say, oh, well, we struggled with this on Saturday. Can you work on this?
Yeah. I'd say all the above.
Yeah.
I'd say probably 50. Normally it's broad themes. It's not too specific that I get.
Okay.
And then I follow up with, well, what do you think about this, 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 and this? And then they go, oh, well, actually, now you say that, I think this. And then I dive in deeper.
Yeah.
I think, that's what I've learned is me and my trainers were really good at going into the weeds in all these different areas and being really specific with things. And so if we just get general themes, then we can follow up and kind of like almost like lead them to water on what would be like the right thing and throw them out there and then they could choose. But then sometimes they come in and they're just like, hey, just put us through whatever you did for that team. or they'll say like, just put us through your curriculum, whatever you got. Like, I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
And then we do it that. But then the more I work with the team, the more specific it gets. Like I work with probably Al Franjone's team, the longest, the Kings.
Orchard Park.
Yeah, I probably trained them 40, 50 times. By the end of this year, it'll be like 100. We go deep on what we work on.
Yeah.
We're always texting ahead of time on what the plan is for the session.
Awesome.
And executing in each time. So.
Were you with his team like twice a week or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do in the winter? We'll do a lot of teams because I know that indoor space can be astronomical cost-wise.
It is.
So bringing also a trainer in on top of that rental, are you seeing that teams are still are you going to be booked?
It slows down.
Okay.
But it's still my second year, but it's slowing down this year. I think I'm doing 5 teams this
Still
winter.
really good.
Yeah.
Is that once a week? Or is it some do twice a week?
Some twice, but mostly once a week.
Okay.
And what was I going to say? But yeah, the space is hard in the winter. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast. That's why I think so many people loaded up on me this fall.
Yeah.
Because they wanted me, but they know with the cost of field space and the trainer fees, it's too much. And I agree with them, it is a lot. And so I think they just try to squeeze me in, and then they want to early April not early April, mid-April, we go back outside, continue, and train them up again.
When you're working with teams, do you do an 8-week session, or do you do monthly, or how do you schedule it out with those teams if they're calling you?
Yeah. So it's kind of like everything else. You want to try it for a bit before you get too bought in, even if it come as a good referral. So most are doing 5. 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I can confidently say in 5 weeks that we can deliver. You're going to see noticeable changes by the end of the 5 weeks. That's enough time for me. I really don't like to do anything that's one-off. Because if anyone says that they can change X, Y, and Z or develop this in 1 week or even 2 weeks, they're just lying. So it's just, you can't. Kids don't forget. You have no chance to do muscle memory. Mm-hmm. You need to reiterate the same thing over and over and over again for things to sink in, especially early tactics for kids. It's just not possible. Mm-hmm. And so I don't, would it be money for us and so forth? Yes. But then I'm not actually impacting that team or any of those players doing it that way. And that's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped offering private training one-offs. It's if you want to come and train, it's 6. Yeah. You're going to do 6, and then they'll actually see some growth. Yeah. You're absolutely right. In one session, you're not going to see that. I mean, so when I started this, I would have kids in. Mm-hmm. I would have kids in twice a week for about 3 or 4 years, and they grew exponentially, right?
Yeah.
Their friend finds out, or their teammate finds out, hey, I want you to do for my kid what you did for this kid. Yeah. And then they give me a month. And they're we're not seeing the results yet. And I'm wait a minute. This kid has been with me twice a week for 3 years.
Yeah.
And you're expecting in 1 month, once a week, in 4 sessions, to do what that kid can do.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that. Not Development possible. Is a long... Mm-hmm. I mean, even the 18-year-olds that we work with, you're not fully developed.
Yeah.
The pros aren't fully developed.
No.
And people don't, parents don't understand that at times.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the toughest thing is that each player is going to develop at a different pace, due to multiples of factors, at least for the ones that I'm training a lot of times, puberty is a huge factor. So in just overall growth, I could do all the moves in the world with somebody. They can have the best technique, but at the end of the day, if they can't really accelerate that fast, no matter what move they do past somebody, they're not getting by them, you know? And so, like, you know, I could do certain things, but for it to really impact the game, sometimes it just takes longer, unfortunately. And also, certain kids, for whatever reason, I've noticed that when they get into live gameplay, they get nervous and anxious to actually attempt the moves, you know, and the skills and the stuff that we work on. It's all a confidence thing. And so I can't predict with parents. I can't tell them exactly when it's going to come out. I think my biggest, I've trained a lot of players now, but I think my biggest win was probably Jackson Moritz. He did one full 10-week kind of training program with me, and, you know, he was getting better in the program, but it wasn't really applying. And then it was like by the seventh session of his second program when his dad texted me, and it was like, wow, he's really starting to put everything into the game now, and it's amazing to see. I'm like, thanks for sticking with me, basically is what I said to him. Like, you know, I'm glad that you didn't like kind of give up on what we've been working towards, but it just took him a while to now put it into the game, and now he does it all the time. He's great. So it's one of those things. It's tough to put your finger on. Where some kids will do it immediately. Maybe they don't have that, you know, that hesitation to do it, and they just want to throw it. Like I have a girl, McKenna. She's amazing, and I teach her one thing, and then next session she's doing it, and mom's telling me she's doing it in games, but not every kid's like that. And so, you know, if you're talking to somebody for the first time, what can I expect? You know, I can't confidently say that. I'm just lying, and I'm not about that, you know.
Do you go out and watch a lot of the games that these kids are playing, or is it mostly just the training sessions and then you get the feedback from the coaches and parents?
It's more I get the feedback. Some I do go to. If I know a few kids are going to be playing in one game and so forth. But
it's just hard, and you have 2 kids of your own.
Yeah, I'm insanely busy. So and when the games are, you know, that's when my training sessions are. Yeah. So it's not like, you know, other than like Saturday mornings sometimes, even I'm doing a couple sessions now then, but Saturday mornings are tough because that's like family time, right? You know, because I don't have that all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you instill confidence, or how do you like develop confidence in your players? Mm-hmm. Especially the ones that like are at the bottom of the roster and they want to be good. Mm-hmm. But they just lack that confidence. What do you usually harp on, and how do you grow that?
Well, one of the main things is I kind of takes a while for it to sink in, but basically explain to them that everything we do in this session can't just happen in the session, that you also have to do it at home. And so I kind of say to them, like, you know, until you're telling me and your parents are telling me that you're doing this at home, you know, 2 to 3 times a week outside of this, you know, practicing the specific moves, skills, and stuff that we've been working on, then like it's going to be tough for you to build the confidence to do that, you know, and be able to execute it. And so that's a message that runs through. So that's outside of my sessions, but I think it's still important. Like if they can't make the time to spend 10, 15 minutes to go and do the stuff at home, you know, just the repetition is key. You know, repetition just so whatever move you do, whatever touch you do, you know, confidence in my opinion is you just know what's going to happen after you do that. The ball is going to land here. Your foot position is going to be here. Your distance you just covered is this far. Because then you can start to predict things. So confidence to me is like knowing that if I do this with my body, you know, with a ball, then this is what's going to happen next. And if you don't know what's going to happen, that's a lack of confidence. So just the muscle memory of that builds that confidence. And so I would say during my sessions where the real confidence comes from is, you know, we do a lot of 1v1s, 1v2s, 2v2 play, pretty much all numbers even or numbers down stuff. And whenever they can, and when they're going through it, you know, we'll do higher repetition. They'll do 10 in a row on offense or something. And so, If 4-1's in, they're afraid of doing it, then I'll reiterate, hey, we worked on these moves in the beginning of practice. We need to show them, I'll change it up. So like, counts as 2 goals if you do, Ronaldo chop and then score, different things to motivate them to do it. And then when they don't do it, I'm very curt, to the point, direct with them. And I say, why didn't you do that? And I talk to them, I talk them through it. I'm not like yelling at them, but I'm being direct. I'm like, James, that was a perfect opportunity to do that. Talk to me. Why didn't you want to throw that? And then, talk to him for a second. Well, the next time it happens, like, I encourage you, it's going to happen in the next couple minutes here. Let's try it out. What's the worst thing that happens? You lose the ball anyways. It goes out of bounds. So let's just try it. And so it's a conversation that I have with them, not only there, but, over 5 sessions, 10 sessions, it's over and over and over again. So, and then it just happens over time.
We work primarily, on the ability to ball strike and shooting and finishing. And I always say it's a repetition-based skill. Mm-hmm. It's a reps-based skill. Yep. Everything in soccer is a reps-based skill, which is why I don't think that a lot of these kids get enough reps at all of the skills, even passing and receiving, mm-hmm. and not in passing and receiving in a game situation where, one of the things I can't stand when I go and watch youth soccer is a kid will be sprinting down the sideline, a ball comes in, and they can't receive on a sprint. It goes 15 yards out of bounds. It's like, can we receive on a sprint? And that's a reps-based skill.
I agree.
Every other sport, whether it's golf, you'll see Tiger Woods dump a bunch of balls in a sand trap and hit every single one out. Mm-hmm. Or you'll see a tennis player like Federer work on his backhand or his serve over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of soccer coaches will roll out a ball and just say, play.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you're just going to play and scrimmage the entire time, that kid might not even touch the ball for periods of 5-10 minutes at times.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what the grassroots curriculum is saying, though, pretty much?
Yeah. And do you agree with that?
I mean, I don't agree with it. No.
Yeah.
But it just also depends on how much they're playing, too. If you have a kid that's only playing once a week and they're playing 10 weeks and that's all they're playing the entire year, like, do I want to sit there and work on technical stuff with them?
Yeah.
No, not really. They should be playing.
Uh-huh.
But if they're on a travel program,
yep.
If you're not doing technical work every practice, it's crazy. I kind of go with, I forgot where I read it, but I think it was Didier Drogba went to Chelsea, and Jose Mourinho was the coach at the time, and he brought his running shoes, and he said, what do you have those for? Well, when we do our fitness, we don't do that. We're going to do our fitness when we're actually playing the game. That's when it's going to happen. He said, throw those away. So I 100% agree with that philosophy. There should be no practice should occur with any static running, high knees, any of that stuff. You can accomplish all that stuff with ball control, ball mastery exercises. That's going to get them just as warmed up, and they're going to get 500 more touches on the ball for that 10, 12 minutes that you were doing your warm-up, your dynamic warm-up. I get it if they're 16, 17 and they could possibly pull something and you could do some of that stuff. But not below that. Their legs are like jello. So, like, they're not going to get hurt by that.
So we do tennis ball, mini ball, and full-size juggling. Kind of stole it off of Beast Mode way back in the day because I was going to become a Beast Mode affiliate. If you're familiar with his
Actually,
work.
I haven't heard of Beast Mode, no.
He's in California. He's an English guy. He would train like Kristen Press and Alex Morgan and some of like the world, like women's national team players. And I found out that Alex Morgan would juggle a tennis ball like every single day. And then I'm like, you know what? And this is probably 15 years ago now. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try that. And I did it for myself back in the day when I was like fit, and I would do that as a workout. And I'm like, holy cow. One, I'm completely warmed up.
Yeah.
I'm completely warmed up because I don't just do juggling to juggle. I do like different challenges. Like North Carolina has a 14 surface juggling test where it's laces, insides, outsides, and heels of both feet. So that's 8. 9, 10 is your thighs. 11, 12, 13, 14. And then when you're moving your body naturally, trying to control a tennis ball, then a mini ball, then a full size, you're completely warmed up. Yet all these elite teams are doing 2 lines, and that's their warm-ups. Like, that's not realistic. That's not getting you prepared to play a 90-minute game at that level. But that's the frustrating part for me.
I agree. Heel touches, man,
it's tough.
If people have good heel control, you're in a good spot in your technical ability.
AJ can do it. AJ can do it.
Yeah, that's some serious skill. All my sessions, team or anything, I always start out with juggling. You know, there's ranges. 8-year-olds,
of course, bounce, kick, catch, or whatever, or one touch with the bounce. Yep.
My biggest thing is juggling for distance as fast as you can.
Okay, without it hitting the ground.
Yeah. Well, when they're younger, when they're 8, 9, 10, I do one bounce juggles because they're still, it's directional.
Yep.
And so I think that's really important to not just keep it up, but to have purpose where you're putting it. And sometimes I do like cone pass and so forth, but normally straight line is hard enough to just get it as far as you can.
Yeah. So. University of Michigan used to do a technique test on the women's side where they had to go sideline to side. I think it was sideline to sideline, and it's like how many of these kids can actually do that? Because they don't. A lot of coaches out there hate juggling, and they think it's pointless, and they think it's useless. For me, it's instant feedback of how much time you've spent with a ball. If a kid, I love it when I get like a team in here and they're like 12, 13, and every time that they mess up, they bend over and they pick the ball up with their hands. The real players are the ones that can just pop it up. And I'm like, okay, I know immediately within the first session, I know, okay, we are behind or we're spot on just through juggling.
Yeah. I mean, normally, it's not a perfect science, but like normally the best juggler on the field is the first or second best player on most teams. Like it's just very normal. I mean, at my summer camps this summer, Caleb, he was the only one that could juggle the whole field. It took him a few tries, but he did eventually do it on like the second or third day and got there, and he was the best player in the camp.
That's actually how I found out about you, is Caleb's family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because she would post, Mom, Siobhan would post your stuff, and I'm like, wait, who is this guy? And then I'm like, oh, wait, is that the guy that AJ knows? And then I put 2 and 2 together, and then I'm like, oh, I need to talk to this guy. Because AJ like talked highly of you, and then Caleb, is great, and so yeah. You played at Canisius. Did you play with Regan Steele at that time?
My year.
Okay, it was your year.
I was actually at his diaper party like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's about to have a kid.
Yeah, October, right?
No, they do any day.
Is it any day?
Yeah. Apparently, he was saying that. Yeah, they'll induce her in a week or so if she hasn't come naturally already.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's getting that time.
Yeah. I mean, also about confidence. I find that when I'm working with a player for a long period of time, if I can close the skill gap, if they can close the skill gap between their strong foot and their weak foot, the more overall confidence that they are going to have. And because think of the worst team that you've ever been on. If you were the best player is here and the worst player is way down here, that's not going to be a very strong team. Think of the best team you've been on.
Yep.
Best player, worst player.
Yep. And
that team is going to be better. I feel like it's the same with your feet. If your right foot is here and your left foot is here, you're going to be an average player.
Yeah.
But if your right foot is here and your left foot is here, you're going to be more confident and you're going to be a better player.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously some exceptions to that rule, like Arjen Robben, who would. I don't think he ever touched the ball with his right.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I used to have a mentor back in Michigan that would say it's better to be all lefty, no righty than all righty, no lefty. Which makes sense because think about it. Like, there's so many left-footed players that have no right foot that get away with it. Yeah. Messi being one. Yeah. But Messi uses his right foot more than Robin ever did.
He scored like 400 goals with his right foot.
Exactly. Exactly. So, like, you know what I mean? So, but when you think of like a righty, you can't be as all righty as my favorite player to always kind of model my players after would be like Thomas Muller. You watch him play. If you watch him play, you might not find out what foot he is.
Yeah.
If you watch Ronaldo, I know that you can realize in a few minutes that he's right-footed. Same with Messi.
Yeah.
But,
well, here are a couple of my thoughts around that. So, I think at a really young age, I'm talking 7, 8, 9, at least in the way I view it, I don't super harp on the weak foot that young. The reason is because I just want them to feel really good even about their strong foot.
Right.
So, and I want them to, biggest thing is passion. So are they going to be passionate about it? If somebody's not really good at something, it's just tough to have passion towards it. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm coming in and I'm just harping on their weakness from the beginning before their dominant stuff is even that good, and he's even showing that well, then I don't think it's the best use of time. And so, but then after 9, when they get to 10, 11, 12, yes, I have scorecards for everything and so forth, passing, first touch, fast feet moves, striking, also, long range passes, all sorts of stuff. And I always have, what is your weak foot compared to your dominant foot? Like, how is it very close? Is it far off? And there's a spectrum. And yeah, closing that gap is super important, because normally what that means is that they're a one-trick pony, meaning they can only go one way. So they have moves that only set up going one way. And as soon as you get against, a halfway decent defender, they pick up on that after 3 reps, you're SOL. So you need to make sure that you are closing the gap. I actually had a dad this morning that texted me on how good actually Coach Aaron did with him in the past session at really making him confident when he hits it with his right foot, because he's left foot dominant when he goes and strikes the ball. And it's like, was so happy with now that he did it a few times like the right way she taught him. And now, now he's kind of doing it on his own, because he kind of saw the light and he's trying to strike it more. So, anyway, I just wanted to add in some of my thoughts on that.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's kind of like, how many outs can you have? If you're under pressure, how many outs? Can you go 360 degrees or whatever? Can you go backwards? And about the younger players being strong on their good foot, first of all, before their weak foot, it's also really important to teach these kids all the different surfaces of the foot, because I think the EPL did a study where the most used part of the foot when you're in control of the ball is actually the sole of the foot. And so many kids will be running on a sprint, and then they try to save the ball from going out of bounds with the inside of the foot, when they should have just used the sole. And they forget that okay, you have 4 or 5 different surfaces of your foot. Are you comfortable with both of them? Now, when you compare it to your weak foot, what do you trust more? The sole of your right or the sole of your left? Usually the sole of your right. Yeah. So what do you trust more, the inside of your right or the inside of your left? It's like, to be completely two-footed. We say that all the time, be two-footed, be two-footed. I want you to be proficient in all those surfaces. And, the quicker that those kids realize that how to manipulate the ball with all surfaces, the better they're going to be. And it's all about the ball. Mm-hmm. And I hear sometimes we rent out space in here to teams, and I'll be sitting in here or I'll be sitting out there, and I'll listen to what the coaches are talking about. And I'm like, these kids can't trap and pass. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about team tactics. Yeah. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
Like, this is such a waste of time.
Yeah.
These poor kids.
Yeah. I totally hear you. I think that's why, I don't know. I think that's why we've grown so fast. When somebody comes out and sees how we run our sessions, like if we're doing passing, for example, something as simple as, stand across from each other. I always normally do 3 lines because I like to have them move 2 on one side, 1 on the other, and you follow your pass to get movement versus just static.
Yep.
Even if something as simple as that, to do like basics, I always start with 2 touch inside of the foot. So you go left to right foot or right to left. So then I do, then it's outside of your foot touch to inside of the foot pass. Then it's inside of the foot touch to outside of the foot pass. And then if, you have enough time, then I do receiving with the sole and then outside of the foot pass again, because they normally have never passed to the outside of their foot. So it's good to harp on that a little bit more. And then I go into 1 touch passing. And that's all from like 10 feet. And even just like the communication around what part of their foot that they should be trying to control it with is normally something that they've never gotten before. And so even that, which is like session 1 of, you can technically do that for all age groups, just the quickness and sharpness goes up. That normally, kind of light bulbs go off for the coach on the other side. Okay, maybe I don't, maybe our passing is a little bit different. So a lot of times people will just say, pass, 2 touch,
Right.
but you're not really specific and direct with it. Because it takes a lot more focus when they can only receive it a certain way and they can only pass a certain way.
Yeah.
So something that's basic at that kind of is the start, I think, for a lot of teams to stick with us a long time, because they're like, okay, wow, this is what technique is beginning to talk about. Can you confidently do this? And then I normally turn it into a race, and that always gets them excited. But
right. Like, going back to like the one trick pony thing. I do this thing with like some of our like forwards that score a lot of goals. We want to make sure that you score goals in as many different ways as possible. We don't want you to be that one trick pony. She's very good, but the Alex Morgans, which it's mostly breakaways and it's almost exclusively her left foot. How do you develop that confidence and that, like, just that, can it be developed just to be a killer in front of goal? How do you develop that? It's obviously reps, but what else?
Yeah. My football coach, Saul Erickson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he does a lot with forwards and wingers and so forth. And so I've gotten a lot of inspiration off him. I send him my content. He reviews it. He gives me feedback, looks to improve it.
Okay.
He coaches Premier League players regularly.
I follow him on X or Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the stuff that he does is just, it's having a quick touch, a move. It could be a touch that's a turn, totally 180 degree turn. You got somebody on your back. It could be, at an angle cutting into goal. It could be, a ball that goes through and you got to take a touch to the right spot and then bend it in. And so it's just, it's high repetition, but it is teaching to score in all different ways. Yeah. Inside of your foot, firm, on the ground in the corners, on the top of the 18 sometimes. Now you're looking more for laces. You're not trying to kill the ball, but get the placement. Okay, now you're a little bit farther. Okay, now you're really trying to put your foot through the ball, get some topspin on the ball or to knuckle it. And you just need to practice all these different maneuvers. And at a certain point, you don't tell them exactly what to do. They just, however the ball goes, you need to put in the ball back of the net as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And so depending on where the pass goes, if it's in the air, if it's not, or it's, what foot it's going to, you got to change it up. And so it's, I have my little goal shot out, so they got to pick the corners out, and then it's, they just need to, see how many they can put in the back of the net in those corners. And that's how Mo Salah got really good. That's what he says in his backyard. He was not a goal scoring threat. He put up a goal shot in his backyard, and he just like did it over and over and over and over and over again. And if Mo Salah's doing that, anyone that wants to score a lot of goals, winger or striker or not, you should be doing the same thing.
Oh my God. Like whenever I bring up a pro player or something that they did, I always say, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for a bunch of Buffalo Bills fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
in Buffalo, New York. It is. Because there's so many. Do you ever get pushback from kids where it's like, why are we doing this? It's like, it was good enough for David Beckham. It's good enough. Like the 14 surface juggling.
Yeah.
So, one, I got that from University of North Carolina, but Bayern Munich. Do you know Leo Cristiano? Leo Cristiano is a youth player here, and then he did a stint, or he's spent his entire youth from 13 and up with Sporting KC. His dad, the family still lives here. And I trained him, and he just got back from Bayern Munich because he played with GPS, and GPS got him a chance to go and train with him. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that on that session, we were doing 14 surfaces. And Leo goes, we were just doing this in Bayern Munich. And I go, oh, really? Nice. And he goes, well, in Bayern Munich, they don't do the heel touches.
Yeah.
They just do the 12. And I go, huh. So if it's good enough for Bayern Munich, it's good enough for everybody here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And that's, do you ever get like pushback? Of like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
To be honest, not a ton. I think we kind of set the tone for the sessions, me and the trainers. I always say, like, pretty much every session, talk without talking. Like, for example, I'll juggle with them. And so, every time I can make it the whole way to the field without dropping the ball, whether it's walking or sprinting or whatever. And so they just see me do it, and they can't do it. It's like they don't really have a leg to stand on. Mm-hmm. Or we're doing a ball striking thing, We ping it in the upper right corner, and we say to ping it in the upper right corner. And so we just did it, and if they can't do it yet because they're working on it, developing that skill, then it kind of just sets the tone. There's a couple, like I'm second, like 2 players that I could think of off the top of my head right now that like always question me, but those are the type of kids that always question everyone. They're just that type of person.
Kid, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but everyone else, no, it's kind of, we I don't know, we try to set the tone that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Your score, go back to your scorecard.
Yeah.
Is that just for you, or is that for like an evaluation you do later, or do the kids see this every single session?
They don't see it every session. It'd be way too time consuming for that. But I do it in the beginning, and I do it at the end of every program.
Okay.
So
for each kid or the team as a whole, or?
So if the team wants me to do the evaluations, I will do that. It's a separate cost though, so it's a little bit more expensive because it's a lot more time consuming. So I'll do it for the whole team, but for my small group programs, they will come in and they will I have them come out. So I don't charge the first coaching evaluation. They come out and I will do a scorecard for them. I send it to them afterwards to the parents, and then I don't know if always the parents do. They probably do. I'm not 100% sure if they do, but they can share it with their kid. And then at the end of the program, I will do a follow-up and where they're at that point in time. So, and I normally say, hey, I can't predict exactly where the development is, but, I do think across all these fundamentals, if I can at least increase, one of the fundamentals by one level, and I do that basically like six levels across the whole scorecard, then like we're making progress. And that's not normally, I normally far surpass that. Sometimes it's close, just because the development is slower with that kid. But normally the opportunity is so great, you tackle stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is most of your training done?
North Towns, it's in Amherst. Sometimes it's at Will East High School.
Okay.
Just more stuff that's...
And that's like the small groups and private sessions that you're doing, whereas your teams, you're just wherever that team is.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
So mostly in the North Towns.
And then, sorry, in the South Towns. No, I'm actually more in the South Towns. Orchard Park is where I normally train, Miles Strip Complex.
Okay.
I'm close with them over there. Al, I'm really close with. And then I've gotten close with West Seneca, so we've done a few things over there.
Yeah, West Seneca.
Yeah, James Greenway over there.
Yeah.
So, not as much, but we will next year. They want me to run my summer camp. Well, he offered last year to run my summer camps, but it was too late. But I got a lot of requests to have something in the South Towns because it's just every day. Parents driving a half an hour to the North Towns for pickup and drop off is a lot. So
right.
Just can't do it. So we'll go down there next year.
When you're working with when you are working with a group for the first time, and you see that they're behind, what's your plan of action? Like when you see they're super, super behind, what's your plan of action? Is it all just like ball to player ratio 1-to-1 and then 1v1s and everything, or?
So I normally will put them every session is like a half an hour of dribbling, moves, and skills. And then from there, we have a few exercises that we do. It's not so much static passing. I mean, if they're really, really, really far behind, we'll do more static passing.
Yeah.
Just so they can get good connections, and I'm right there next to them to give them feedback on when their technique is wrong. But if they can at least pass with the inside of their foot, let's say, 10 times, 10 yards, if they can do it 7 or 8 times, getting to the right spot, I say that's good enough. Then it's all passing and moving kind of exercises, and just getting the idea about, after you pass the ball, you immediately need to try to get the ball back, and here are the different ways to do that, and here are the turns that you can do to open up to pass to somebody else. Stuff like that is where my sole focus is. I would say in the beginning, to help do that. So yeah.
How much? Okay. Well, extending that question, do you feel like some organizations are behind? You don't have to name names, but do you feel like organizationally it's like, whoa, maybe this club is way behind where this club is? Or is it more based on the coach that they have?
No, club level.
Yeah. And then do you ever give them your feedback of this is almost like a club, almost be like a club consultant? So
I think actually at least the players that I'm dealing with, like the people that I'm dealing with, like the coaching directors and the presidents, so forth, they're pretty aware of where their club is at.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell them where they're at. They're pretty aware. I would tell them. I'm an open book.
Right.
But I don't have to. Normally, because we're talking for a reason, and they want development in certain areas
and that's why they hired you.
Yeah.
So they have the self-awareness of where they are personally.
Yeah. Because I reach out to a lot of clubs and they just don't respond. So, they feel like they got their stuff together, which is fine. But the ones that I am communicating with, I think a lot of them see that there's potential, and so I'm working with them to help develop that. And it's it's a big void in the community. So there's that, and then there was another part to your question. I forgot you were
just being like a consultant.
Oh, I don't think I've gotten to that consultant level. I think I would. We have enough. We definitely have enough curriculum now, and I think it's important. I would love to be able to go to a club and say, these are the exercises and the skills that your 9-year-olds need. These are the exercise skills that your 10-year-olds need. These are the exercise skills your 11-year-olds need to be doing. But, at a certain point that most clubs have a coaching director, and they should technically be doing that.
Sure.
And making sure that people are following it. And so a lot of times it's kind of, well, why are we hiring you? Shouldn't they be doing that? And so it's politically comes into an interesting situation. And I'm not here to knock any clubs about where they've been or where they're trying to go. I'm not, I want to work with them to help and improve them. I'm not going to, fault them for where they're at currently or anything like that.
Right.
That's not my game. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to be putting anyone down, I guess,
Right.
on where they're at and what somebody is or is not doing. Like, I think it's important. Our goal is to build, I want to put Buffalo on the map for developing great soccer talent. Like, seriously, I know we've done a pretty good job on the female level, especially like through the Flash program.
Yep.
Of doing that. And I want to develop like a lot more players in the community. And you don't do that by starting to talk smack about anyone else or putting anyone down. It's not about that. It's just about helping out wherever you can on who needs it. And so, that's my viewpoint. So, do
you have any opinion on why we're behind on the boys' side versus the girls? I had a conversation with a coach. That episode will be up like next Monday, and I'm just always trying to pinpoint, why are we sending girls? And I know the platforms matter. I know ECNL matters, and I know MLS Next matters and stuff like that. But like, why are we sending some girls to like North Carolina and Nebraska and Ohio State and Kentucky and Arkansas? And yet our boys, they struggle to find even D1 opportunities. I know the whole landscape of men's college soccer, and you as a former D1 soccer player, you could probably talk about this. Like, obviously it's the internationals, and then it's the transfer portal, and all of that, and less programs on the men's side than the girls' side, and all of that. But I still don't think that's an excuse for not being able to put more men into Indiana, more men into Clemson, more men into... Yeah. Any thought on where we are as a whole on the men's side of Buffalo?
I think overall they're just not as good. Like across the board. I'm not saying there's not going to be a few starlets here and there.
Right.
But we don't have, 75 players coming out of a year and being like, these players could go elsewhere, and I think
true.
That's what I'm trying to talk about. Don't get me wrong. I would love to help any one of my players go professional in D1 and like fill their aspirations. But truthfully, I'm not in it just for that one player. I want to help increase the overall talent level of the whole pool of players. And that so I think, honestly, I don't want to act like I know too much about the entire American landscape, and the development that goes on. Because I already admitted I haven't coached at a club, so I'm not going to talk about what any of the clubs are doing at every level. I know from my experience now, all the teams I've trained and so forth on more the travel level, not on the premier level, but on the travel level, what's going on. But I do think at some point, I don't know where it is, maybe it's 14, 15. I don't know if there's a real push for players to really improve. I found out about you through years ago. Mike Petrie.
Yeah. Carter's dad.
Yeah. So I work with both of them a little bit, but very, very short stints, like 2 years ago, right when I was getting started. He lives in my neighborhood. We play we play soccer together on Sundays. So like I know him pretty well.
BDSL.
Yeah. And so, but he was saying that he hasn't seen real technical growth in Carter, who's one of the better players in the area, since he played, technically wise, since he played at GPS a while ago. And so, but it's kind of like twofold, because he was saying during those days, Carter did a ton of stuff at home, outside of it. And he was saying that in the past, like a couple of years, he doesn't start to do, he's not doing that stuff at home anymore. And so, not saying that he's still not getting better, but he's not getting marginally better regularly, because he's not putting that extra time for whatever reason. He might have lost his passion, for doing that stuff. Maybe he thinks his skills are good enough because maybe he is at the top level. So he's like, well, who else do I have to go against? Yeah, every once in a while you play better players regularly. But if you're one of the strongest players on your club team, how much harder do you have to work? Mm-hmm. You don't really have to if you already have the starting job. And so, but what's there to really push you to the next level in the area to really, put that in your head? Well, no, I still need to keep getting better. I still need to be spending that half an hour a day alone. So I don't know if that's there. I don't know. It's a little tangent, but I don't know. There's some thoughts.
Going back to like how you were talking about the pool and just trying to make the overall pool better. I'm a big fan of Tom Byer, who he's known for, he's from New York or New Jersey, but he is known for helping out Japan and China, of making sure that the skill gap between the very best player in the country and the very worst player is small, so that his philosophy is that the bottom will push the top to be even better. And that's exactly what you're talking about with Carter, is that Carter's been head over heels the best 2010 for 5 years, and he's not really pushed. So when he's not pushed, there's nowhere, unless he plays up with the 09s or something like that, he's not as pushed. It's better now than it was probably 3 years ago, but it's still, and he's also in love with basketball, and he's a heck of a kicker.
Yeah. So, he's got many talents, but
So, and that's kind of where I came up with that skill gap between your right and your left foot. It was Tom Byer, and his philosophy is if our bottom can push the top,
mm-hmm.
then everybody benefits. But a lot of coaches feel that, we only need to. I feel what ECNL and MLS Next has done is that we only coach the top, and everybody else down here is forgotten, and they don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of players feel that, because I get messages all the time from people in rural areas that don't have access to ECNL and MLS Next. It's how in the world can my daughter play college soccer if she's not in one of those platforms? And I tell them, it's I always say, there's a college program out there for everybody, and there's
mm-hmm.
a way to get seen. But if you're not in one of those platforms, it's very, very hard.
Yep.
And I think you and I have a different perspective, because we see that skill gap.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the best player that you've worked with. Think of the worst player that you've worked with. They could be the same age. I could have a 2010. Let's use Carter as an example. I could have Carter in here, 2010, the best. The very next hour, I could have the very worst 2010, and they play for the local travel. And a lot of the coaches in the ECNL and the coaches in the MLS Next, they don't see that skill gap. They don't see. And then most of the time, that when they get mad at me for saying something, they think I'm talking about them. But really, I'm talking about just a player at the grassroots level that's playing for an Amherst team, or a second Clarence team or something like that. It's just frustrating. And I think what you're doing and having an impact of somebody that knows the game and knows how to develop players at the travel level is gigantic. Because how many of the travel parents or travel coaches out there didn't really play or didn't play at all, and maybe it's just a volunteer parent?
Yeah.
And that's probably what a lot of your clientele is, right? Is just parents looking for help and coaches looking for help.
Both those. And
it might be an additional night. Let's say, like Al. Does Al still train his team on his own? Al would probably train his team 4 times a week if he could. So he would do 2 and he would give you 2.
Yeah.
Well, he's got 3.
He's got 3 teams. So
yeah.
So he sticks with the girls that he's been with kind of first, which is his older group. I help out here and there with them. I do, but not as much. It's not like a regular clip like with the Kings. So I'm with them regularly.
How much like possession work do you do like in your sessions and like rondos and stuff like that?
I don't do it every session, but I still do it. We normally do it's normally 75 minutes or 90-minute session. Okay. And so for one of those in a week, I would do it for maybe 45 minutes. I'm big on regular rondos, 3v1s. Okay. Very big on those because you can't get stuck in corners and you got to move. And if it's 5v1, you increase the numbers, it's just that much easier to not be on the ball. And so I'm all about maximizing touches. And so I think 3v1 is a great option for that. I think anything where it's directional with possession too. So I'll do those rondos for a little bit in the beginning, but then I really like to have a purpose on where you're going with the ball.
Do you do that with like targets and then you play in a target and stuff, or?
Yeah, they need to get to a certain point, or there's a player over there that you get them the ball and then they come onto the field and you replace them, stuff like that. And then they got to go to a different area of the field. Or there's a couple options and they need to choose which one to go to and then replace them. So stuff like that where they're moving with the ball. And then recently, actually, it's small-sided possession, but it's my favorite thing I've been doing is I just use a center circle and start with 1v1s. So you put 2 people in the middle, and then you have like anywhere between 3 to 5 people around the outside. And it's a 1v1 battle in the beginning of just keeping possession. So they win the ball, and it's first to 10 passes. Well, if they're brand new, if I do something like 7 passes, so it's easier. But then you do 10 passes, and then if they get 10, then it's next person on. And it just, I don't know, it's been absolutely killer. The turns that people have to do, the awareness about what's around them, the intensity of it. It's a 1v1. 2 minutes and they're absolutely dead. 90 seconds and they're still like can barely breathe. Very intense. Yeah. And so that's been really good at just passing and moving and keeping possession. And you might say, well, you have people standing on the outside, but when you're working in the middle, you're dead. So they actually need the break. They do, because you do 3 rounds of that and pretty much all are like absolutely wiped. So that one, and then I do 2v2 the same way in there. Then you do 2v2, they could pass between each other, and then around the outside too. And that alone, I think, builds so many good habits from them. Basic as that, but it's all possession.
And then when you let them play, do you go even numbers? Do you go maximum of 3v3? Any like thought on that?
So in the beginning when I work with them, maximum 3v3. Yep. After I work with them a while, so I did a team U11 boys team in Orchard Park all last winter. We were in the warehouse. Yep. And so I got their skills really good, but their awareness on the field, we did a couple sessions at Epic, and it was like massive gap. And so unfortunately, they had no additional time because it was the winter. You know, it's expensive, and so they couldn't find the extra time to get extra space. And so but we kind of learned our lesson because all those technical stuff, it didn't matter because actually when they went on to the field at Epic, they were lost, just positionally and so forth. So I think it's important to build, the habits, of, give and goes, overlaps, playing into somebody, having them hold the ball, shield it, and then lay it off and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be an overlap, but just different things that are important you could do in the 3v3. And I design them that way. Like, it's not 3v3 flat. You have starting positions for everyone to design all the different things that would happen in a real game. And I think you can accomplish a lot, but then, there does need to be a balance of having everyone on the field and just being aware of how the 3v3 then correlates to the bigger game. And if there was that much time that went by, like happened last year, like 6 months before I was able to, it was just too big, and it took them, they didn't start hitting their stride again until like midsummer, and then they were really good. But the first few games in their outdoor season and so forth, they didn't do that well based on kind of being lost out there, unfortunately.
Do you like incorporate like a lot of small-sided where it's like 4-goal games and whatnot?
I do at summer camps, but I haven't done it.
Not on the team stuff.
Not on the team level, no.
When a coach does come up to you and say, "Hey, I want you to work on this," do you see the coaches always saying the exact same thing, regardless of the group? Or you see like one major thing that you need to work with every group?
I mean, normally people always say footwork.
Yeah.
Always say footwork. And we have a very deep curriculum on that. AJ's learned, Coach Aaron's learned. Brian hasn't learned it completely yet because he hasn't been with me the whole time. But
right.
But we have a very in-depth one that can go for a while for them to really be able to do all of it. So that can just really last a long time. And so when people say footwork, we can work with that team for a long, long time on that. And then I would say recently actually a general theme has been defending, just general defending principles. And so it's nothing too crazy. You got to teach, force to their weak foot, first person goes up there. I don't like to use the word pressure. I say go up there and delay, make them just slow down, whether it's a shot, pass, or dribble. Just slow them down, get the troops coming back, force them to the right side. Then you do the covering defender, teach them you're not just covering the next player. You also got to balance out covering the ball just in case your first player gets beat. You got to be there to help them. It's like some of those basics. When you're running backwards, don't try to shuffle, actually run and look backwards. Just like basic stuff. Jab, don't stab. Nothing crazy, but, all those concepts you got to reiterate like 4 or 5 sessions in a row for them to land at that level. It just takes a while, but taking them through that base stuff, that's pretty common too.
What position did you play?
So I was an outside winger.
Okay.
And then I unfortunately tore both my ACLs.
Jesus.
And so it was pretty interesting. Under Dermot, we played a 4-2-3-1.
Yep.
And we played it where the 3 were interchangeable. We ran all over the place. We didn't have fixed positions. So I played in my last couple of years, I played in that 3. And I tore my ACL going into college, and then I redshirted my freshman year, and then the second year I tore my second one, so I didn't play then. But I shouldn't have played the second year because I lost my pace, which is why I was so good on the outside. I was electric at just either fully beating them or just getting a half step and being able to whip in a cross. Unfortunately, at that age, now I'm like going back and retrospectively, like, I don't know, no one ever taught me when I was growing up that, hey, if you can cut the ball to the inside and do something with your left foot, that might be valuable. So I literally never did it or never was trained on it.
Yeah.
I always just beat people down the line and
Try to cross it in. And
yeah. And luckily, I don't know if you know Nate Bordeaux, but he was on my high school team. And so I have the assist record at Baldwinsville still. He scored about half of them. He was the goal scoring leader at Beeville. So he was finishing all my balls. But yeah.
How'd you guys end up like doing at Canisius?
We were quite good. I think our top year we were like 600, 650, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gavin was on the year. I think he was an All-American one year.
Gavin Faulkner?
Yeah, Faulkner was on the team.
Yeah.
Asani was on the team. Asani Samuels. So we had a pretty good squad back then. Which looking back on it, I'm like not surprised, but Jim. A lot of people fault Jim Hess for a lot of things and this and that, but man, that guy could recruit. He brought in some incredible players to Canisius. Incredible players onto that field. Sam Guibert went pro. He was French. He was amazing. Sam Zarka, my year, just all amazing players he brought into that program. Yeah. So,
do you think? Okay, how many parents have asked you to start a club?
A few. Yeah.
Will you ever?
No.
Exactly.
I have zero desire to. Yeah.
Why would you want that headache?
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's just.
Why would you want to do that? You're making more of an impact now as you build this than you ever will as just a club director.
Yeah. I mean, I was approached to look at Buffalo Pro and what that could look like. But it's, I'm still going to work with them. I'm working with them in the fall and winter here. I'm doing Saturdays at Epics. I'm doing technical trainings for them on Saturdays.
Good. The whole club, basically?
Yeah, they rotate their teams through. I don't know
Sweet.
which teams yet. I'm sure it'll be all of them on a rotation, but I did that with Orchard Park the year before. And now I'm going to be doing it this fall and winter for them. And so I get to touch so many players. Not saying that I wouldn't do that, not that couldn't happen at club level, but like I'm having just such a massive impact now. And running a club just has zero appeal. So long term, like this I consider like the beginning of my journey. And if you know anyone in the community that's interested in this, I would love to meet them and so forth. But really where I want this to get to is I want to bring in players that didn't get college gigs or didn't get pro gigs. I want to obtain their rights, train them here in Buffalo, and then get them offers or get them contracts.
Yeah. Kind of be like an agent?
Yes, but the difference is that I believe that me and my coaches will be able to train them to actually get them to that point.
Right.
They're not coming in there because they're already good enough. They were passed over for one reason or another, and we are either maybe they really want to be a striker and that's not going to be the right fit for them for where they want to go.
Right.
And so teach them how to play another position and get confident in that position and the movements and the touches and the skills that are important for that position.
Yeah.
And develop them and get them these offers and get them these contracts.
Is most of your private one-on-one trainings like functional, like position-specific functional training?
Only the older ones.
Older players.
Only, yeah.
How much time do you have for private sessions when you're doing all these teams and everything? Summer's probably easier, obviously.
Yeah. I did a few over the summer, but even still, I don't... So I don't have a ton of like 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Okay.
It's mostly below that. A few of them that I work with, James Breitweiser, he plays on OP. He's a winger. Really good player. I've been working with him a lot, especially on cutting in and getting that left foot really good. and going both ways. He's developed really strongly. So I did a bunch of individual sessions with, and then some players that I've been training a long time. Every once in a while, I think it's good to do an individual session with a kid, with a player. But for the most part, the things that I'm teaching one player, I'd rather put him up a group. I'd rather put an 11-year-old with a bunch of 13-year-olds or a 12-year-old with a bunch of 14-year-olds and get them to play faster, or possibly if it's the skills that are kind of in that next group, put them in that group, then train them individually. Because I don't increase my prices if I do an individual session. Whether I have one kid show up or 6 kids show up, it's the same price.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, not saying that people won't pay it, I don't think, especially at this age, there's so many question marks on what they're going to be. And I know there's a market for it, but I don't know. I feel wrong charging a lot of money to do a private session. I would rather just have them in a small group.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lost a couple people to that, literally just like 2, but that I could think of. But I'm okay with that. Like a 9-year-old doesn't need an individual session. Like they just, in my opinion, they don't. They will get just as much out of being in another session. I can give the same technical feedback to them as I would in an individual session. And plus, they're going to have the competitive aspect of going against something else.
Exactly.
I'm not going to go against a 9-year-old.
Right.
And do something. Like, that's not going to impact them.
I used to. Man, it was just ridiculous.
But no, I partner with something else. And, somebody only builds the confidence to do a move or technique when they're going up against somebody that's applying pressure upon them. And so, that needs to happen. Something as basic as a scissors. Like sometimes it takes a kid a while to do a scissors in a live game with someone. But if they're not doing it even a one-on-one and they're doing it like in my individual sessions, they're not going to go and do it in a game. They haven't gotten there in their confidence level.
Exactly.
And that's like, to me, that's the middle ground. Teaching them the skill, the technique, doing the repetitions on it. But then they need to do it on somebody, whether it's in a one-on-one, 2v1, 2v2, in a possession-based, whatever it is. They need to be in an environment where then they're doing that move to actually learn it before they even then apply it to the game.
Right, because the most coachable point in a scissor or a step over is usually the timing of it. And most of the times, little kids, they get it, they try the move way too late.
Mm-hmm, they run into the cone and pole.
And you can't really do that when it's just, you could do that with a cone, but it's so much better because then the defender has a reaction.
Yeah.
If it is timed right, then what's your secondary move?
Yep.
And what a lot of kids don't understand is that, okay, what team is out of bounds on? Is the sideline on?
Yeah.
They don't treat that as another defender.
Yep.
It's like, okay, yeah, you beat one defender, but there's always a second defender.
Yep.
So I always want our players to be able to take on multiple. Forget one-on-one. I want you to be able to take on 2 players and 3 players because there's always a man on. There's always a second defender, whether it's the out-of-bounds line or touch line or it's actually a defender.
Yeah.
Have you ever... So, I mean, I think it was D'Annunzio, Ryan, was saying that this area is...
Do you have any more water by chance?
Yeah, I could get you water.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no.
That's how thirsty.
No, hold that thought. I'll get you water. Yeah. We've already done like an hour and 20 minutes.
It's flying.
Yeah, it was Ryan D'Annunzio that said how, I forget I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, Buffalo, this area is facility poor, right? Because, dude, we're probably gonna get snow like in 2 weeks, and we have to be inside, and there's just not enough facilities.
Yep.
So how do you combat that? Do you ever train in a gym?
I haven't.
You haven't yet?
No.
but you might have to eventually sometime.
We'll see. This year I'm trying a different thing where I'm basically, I'm all over Buffalo, but I have the Lincoln Athletic Complex, Epic, Southtown Sports, Sandlands, and Sportsplex. I have space in all of those different days of the week, and then kids are going to join.
Do you book the space at like Sandlands and then you fill in the teams, or did the teams have that space and then you just go there?
So for a couple of those slots, those are teams. All the rest is my small groups.
Got it.
Yeah, because I have over 70 kids that are active in programs in the small groups. So it's a mix. But the other stuff is booked. Like Al's got Sandlands booked, and a couple of the Orchard Park teams have Southtown Sports booked. I think actually Warehouse too. So I had 6 facilities.
Yeah.
Warehouse too. And so I would do Nardin, but Nardin's totally booked up with Delaware. And then I'll come out for a couple of coaching sessions for them. They always have me out at a few. So I'll be in Nardin too, but I'll just be like a guest coach for those. But I'm actually booking space at all these other places. So for a couple of those, sorry to answer your other part of the question. So it's for certain time slots that are like early right after school, I hit up parents and say, hey, do you think you can make this work before I book it?
Yeah.
But then for the other ones like prime time, 5 to 9 in there, I'm just booking the swaths of time, and then I'll just fill it in with players. So I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not making much money in the winter, but
right.
Players need to train, and so it needs to be a year-round thing. So it's just how I'm looking at it, and it's just how it is. So I don't charge more for the winter. It's just you're coming out. I make more of my hay in the summer, and in the winter, I keep the lights on, still bro the name, the brand. If somebody calls me, I could still get them into a session. I could still make it happen. Yeah. But I'm not looking at profit margins or anything else. It's just I already know that that's how it is, and that's just the market.
When somebody contacts you and wants to be in a small group, do you have private small groups, or do you just place kids and be like, yeah, come out to this session with this small group?
So I ask them how long they've been playing for, what age they are, how long they've been playing for, and sometimes depending, I'll say, how would you rate them on the team, and do that, and then I will guess at what would be a good group for them. Normally have a few options, but if they want to get in really soon, and they might not be in the perfect group for the evaluation, it just sometimes happens, but that's the only thing that we can make work over the next week or 10 days. So right. It's like, okay, just try that group out. I'm kind of upfront with it. I'm just saying we're putting them into this group for now, but after the evaluation, I'll be able to actually figure out, what small groups would be best for them.
Right. Because we've always done private small groups, and then a teammate of theirs will find out, and they're like, oh, can I join that group? And I go, no, because I allow the parent to make the group, or I make that play, or I allow that player. And that's actually caused problems with me over the years. It's like I should have just said, instead of calling them private small groups, I should have just called them small groups. And then, they just, come on in and, mix and match and whatnot. At one point last year, I was trying to get rid of all private training, all one-on-ones, just to be done with it. Then I was like, you know what? Then I was like going to steer into it and be like, okay, let's only do private training. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that as much. My favorite thing to do is honestly like work with teams. And then what I've been doing a lot lately is invite only. And I base it off of our summer camp, right? So if you attended our summer camps, then I take the best 20 to 30 kids, and then I make out a schedule, and then I'm like, okay, invite only, and then you guys come in. And then we do our technical drop-ins and stuff like that. Those are usually always popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always just adapting. And the nice thing about like owning your own training company is that you can try things every single week. You can try different things.
Yeah, it's a blast.
It is. Yeah. It's fun to see like what works, what doesn't work, what I like, what parents like, you know.
Yep.
And yeah.
And my buddy Nate, I get a lot of so he kind of, you know, paved the pathway for me because he runs Bordeaux Skill School out of Syracuse.
Okay.
He's a captain for the Utica City FC indoor team. He's been it for like a while.
Okay.
He has just a massive program there. He's been doing it for like, I don't even know, 10, 12 years now. He has, at any given week, he has like 200, 250 kids that he's training. Just like massive. And I talk to him and I see him and he's got a few coaches that help him. But, you know, he sometimes does individual sessions. And then sometimes I see him with 12 kids, but he's got another coach with them. Mm-hmm. But what I picked up from that is just train as many kids as you can. Some sessions are going to be a lot of kids. Some are going to be a little. You show up anyways. You train them. You do your best work. On to the next one. You can't be like, you know, I need a certain amount for this to work. It's just going to be like some you're going to make more money on. Some are going to be make less on. But just as long as I'm training, getting kids better, you know, we're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Ideally, you know, the growth will just keep happening. Don't be so like, you know, bottom line focused basically, is kind of what he didn't outwardly say that, but I could just tell him like looking at it and he's just train. And I'm just like, I just want to train kids, just as many as I can. I don't normally do Saturdays, but I had a bunch of parents that reached out because a lot of their kids are playing modified and JV and stuff. And so I made a Saturday session and now we're doing 4 sessions on Saturdays of just modified and JV and just training more. And that's the time of the week that worked out. You know, it's a wild ride for my wife because my schedule is changing, but you know, that's what it's calling for right now. I don't do that over the summer. I don't do on the weekends because it's like all day, every day between camps and so forth. But I was like, hey, like there's an opportunity here to train a lot of kids. They're asking for it. I didn't plan it. I think we should make it work. And she was okay with it. So
going back to what Nate said, like, I think it was like Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V. He said, one is better than none. And I always believe that. One is better than none. So if I have a training session and it's a drop in and it's, you know, and sometimes there'll be 15 kids show up.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll be 1. Yeah. But 1 is better than 0. Yeah. 1 is better than none. So I kind of like live by that. So I haven't told this story in a while. So when I started PlayMaker in 2015, I had left Flash because I came out here originally in 2015 to work with the Flash pros in the NWSL. I was like the second assistant, and then I started getting involved in the youth academy before they were ECNL and everything. But I didn't end up extending with the Flash, but I had already started training on the side. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I realized about Buffalo, which is different than where I was in Michigan, was word of mouth. If somebody finds you and they like the work you do, it will spread like wildfire in Buffalo. Yeah. Whereas in Michigan, it's a little bit more of a hotbed, and it's more. There's like 3 ECNL clubs all in a 35-minute radius. It's insane. And so when a technical trainer pops up, nobody hears about it because everybody wants to hide you. So,
wait, what do you mean by that? Sorry, everyone wants to.
So like,
parents don't tell their parents because
they want the leg up. They want the edge.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to tell this guy. You're going to be our little secret. I had a Michigan Wolves parent actually say that to me when I was trying to like start over there. They're like, because there's a guy, his name's Aaron Bird, Next Level Training, massive. We're talking
I've heard that guy.
Yeah, he's legit, but he has like 1,000 kids per week come through his program.
Oh wow,
it's insane.
That's a lot.
It's insane, and he's like in 5 locations, and he has his own facilities, kind of like this.
Nice.
But so when I realized, also when I got here, I realized how far Buffalo was behind. So I didn't live here when I was starting out PlayMaker. I was in Michigan. And how I would do this was I would train Tuesday afternoons. And I would drive from Michigan to here, train for 2 or 3 hours, and drive back to Michigan.
Wow.
And that's how I started. It was just on Tuesdays. Then I was like, you know what?
Insane.
And then the word of mouth grew. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do Tuesdays and Fridays. So every Tuesday I'd drive back, Friday, drive back. And then eventually I started staying in a hotel, and I would do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I'd go home on Fridays. Wow. And that's how I built this.
That's insane.
It is insane.
Congrats.
It is insane, and like it's stupid.
Well, yeah, but I think so. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship in general. I was involved with 3 startups down in New York City. That all got sold and exited and so forth. And I started my own company out of school that brought me there. And now this is my own. And the truth of the matter is that when you start anything, you do things that don't scale or don't necessarily make sense, like money wise. Like for so long I was training just 1 kid a session, and paying for it and losing money. I'd pay for a session at the warehouse or whatever. I would train 1 kid and I'd be losing every session. The money, because I don't change my rates. So and that's like how the word spread over time. But like for a while there, and if anyone looking at it, they're just like, who's this schmuck? Like, driving to Orchard Park, paying for the session and doing it. But at the end of the day, like, it's a development business. And so it takes a while to develop kids and for the word to spread. Luckily it did this spring I'm fortunate for the growth that's happened, but it wasn't always like that. It was a lot of times it's just, 6 one-person sessions a week. Yep. And I'm paying for the space in all of them and losing money. But, there's no other really way to do it. You can't just like buy people. They need to come out. They need to experience it. They need to see the development, and then it happens over time, and the growth happens over time. Mm-hmm. But that's like anything with all entrepreneurship. Like for you to have your real beginning, wins and your clients' success stories, it needs to happen off things that don't make financial sense. But like I would say most people that haven't really looked at entrepreneurship that much and kind of understand what it's all about, they don't realize that. And so when they're looking at it, they're just like, why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. And you're right, it doesn't make any sense in the beginning, mm-hmm. but there's no other way for you to build the cred that's going to happen long term. Like just, it's not possible. And so I'm saying that because I wish there were a lot more trainers in Buffalo and in the area. Like there is plenty of kids that need work, thousands and thousands and thousands of kids that need development, and there needs to be a lot of good trainers. But I think a lot are afraid to take the major leap of just, okay, maybe I'm not going to be making money here for a bit. And I'm fortunate because I did have a good amount of money saved up, and I was still full-time with my other job. Like I had other things going for me,
right?
Income-wise, where it wasn't my only income stream,
right?
So if you can't supplement it with other income, I get it. It's next near to impossible, but I do think you need one steady income while you're growing this thing, but you need to do things that don't make financial sense for the business, and you just need to grow that rep over time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you think the same way, but
no, I do. Yeah. Absolutely. Are you doing this full time now, mm-hmm. or do you still have your other? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As of May 31st, right before my kid. So I was doing that part time. That was 20 hours a week. But then between all the summer camps this summer and now this fall, we're booked pretty much 4 to 7, 7:30 every single day of the week, and then Saturdays 4 hours, and then a lot of the rest of the time throughout the day is like organizing things, creating lesson plans, communicating with parents, and coaches, sending out hundreds and hundreds of texts every single week. Yeah. Like it is time. It's not me in front of a computer, kind of like I was when I was VP of sales and all that stuff, but it's still time I'm spending. It is hours. But I don't have to be locked behind a desk, which I love. I was so done with being behind a desk. So even the admin stuff, I love, compared to what I was doing before.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. Yeah. Hopefully, I was just talking to a parent, and I had Matt Waddington on. I don't know if you know Matt. He's at the Flash, and he does his own summer stuff, and sometimes in the winter. And parents that I've worked with found out about Matt's, training based off the podcast.
Nice.
And so hopefully once this gets out and I start posting clips and stuff, that like people really find out about you, and that it's another option, because like you said, we need more trainers, we need more clubs, we need more coaches that that love the game and want to give back and help the player pool, because that's all it's about. And like people, somebody was like, I can't believe you had who was it on? Maybe it was Matt. It's like, well, I can't believe you had Matt on. He's a competitor. It's like, what? Like, I don't look at like anybody as a competitor. I don't, because I just don't. Yep. We're all in this together. And it's like, it's this cliche, and this, I can't stand the guy who said it, but Claudia Reyna once said that our competition isn't the club across, the city or the next town. Our competition is the world.
Yep.
And I've thought about that, and it is. That's our competition. Our competition is, why are our women losing to, Japan? And this was like 10 years ago. Why are we losing to Japan in the World Cup? Why are our men not qualifying for World Cups? Why are we, how many Olympics did we go without qualifying for the Olympics on the men's side? It's like, how many years went between 2009 or 1999 and 2015? That was the gap of the women's World Cups. I kind of feel like we're maybe headed towards another gap between World Cup wins. Stuff like that. It's like, that's how I look at the game now. I don't look at it as the training pitch is competing with PlayMaker. I have Johan, sharpshooters, that I share the space with him. I would bring you in. And put your logo on the back wall. And you know what I mean? And it's just like, that's a tangent.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, it takes a village, Even though I think I'm impacting certain players, there's so many other coaches that are giving feedback, helping out the players when I'm not there. It's not just one person. Yes, I might teach him these specific skills and he's doing that, but there's still so many other parts of the game and the development. It's not just one player. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is I want to grow the overall pie, not carve out a larger slice of the pie. The World Cup's coming up. Soccer's growing in general in this country. And so people are appreciating it more and more. And so we are trying to grow the overall pie of players. Honestly, to go back to one thing about in Buffalo, there's so many players that, due to visualizing the pros and so forth, but they're choosing football and hockey, really athletic kids.
Yeah.
And that are choosing those sports over soccer. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to try to, every once in a every grade, maybe get 50 more of those players that, instead of specializing in hockey, they specialize in soccer, because, we grew the passion for them at a younger age, and they're choosing that over going that route. And so I think there's a lot of talent that, you know, is choosing these other sports, and that's all just part of growing the overall pie. The reason why I love the technical focus and I'm kind of obsessed with it is because soon as players can do more exciting things on the ball, then they fall more in love with the game. You know, there's nothing stinks worse than not being able to juggle at all, and just getting disheartened by it. But then as soon as people that can learn how to juggle, you see them do it all the time.
That's all they do.
Yeah, because it's like, oh my God, I can do this thing. Same with when they start to learn certain moves or can strike a certain ball a certain way, a certain distance, or start to get some bend on it for the first time. Oh, wow, look at that. They just get more excited. Why? Because they're honing their craft. And, you know, when you can learn how to do things that are, you know, cool and fun in that sport, yeah, it's more exciting. And so I believe I'm trying to, like, build that passion and that development and grow the overall pie by showing kids, okay, this is possible. Because there are a ton of kids in the grassroots system. It's the ones that when you start to hit 13, 14, 15, they leave and they go elsewhere, either because they're not doing any sports or they're just choosing another one. Because I think that's a lot of parents' philosophy. A lot of parents' philosophy is, we'll do everything when we're young, and then you kind of choose one when you're older, and we'll put all of our eggs in that basket. Yeah. Whether or not that's the right philosophy, but I feel like that is kind of what's in most of the parents' heads that I talk to all the time. Like I talked to one the other day. We're doing swimming and soccer, but now this year we're specializing just in soccer. We're doing baseball and soccer, and now this year we're just doing soccer. And so it's awesome because they're choosing soccer, but knowing that that's the thought process behind them, you know, they're only going to want to choose us if they can do certain things and they're excited about what they're doing. And so that's where I think, you know, we can help fill the big void in that market by doing that. And I think that's kind of my belief in it.
Two things. One, I find that the kids that I train the longest always go in a lull where I don't see them. Mm-hmm. And this is usually how it goes. 8 to 12 to 13, I see them all the time. Mm-hmm. Then they start to believe that they, you know what, I could just rely on club training. I don't have to do the extra technical work anymore. Then they commit to college or commit to play in college. And then they're like, well, I'm not as technical as I used to be. I'm not as sharp as I used to be. And that's when they all come back, right around like 16, 17 years old, they start coming back to sharpen. Because at the older ages, a lot of it is tune-ups and just sharpening and fine-tuning everything that they can do on the ball. Yeah. Because, I mean, if it's a 17, 18-year-old player, obviously their soccer IQ is going to improve and their tactical awareness is going to improve. But technical, it's just like, you know what, you picked up some bad habits, let's just tighten it up just a little bit. Yeah. That's one thing that I've personally seen over the last 10 years here. Two, so like when you see a kid, like basically I'm just saying that to you, is like when you see a kid that you've worked with for so long and then they disappear and you don't see them, don't worry, they always come back.
They'll come back.
They always come back. So right, don't worry about that. Two, I feel that one of the biggest problems that I have with soccer coaches is that you said it takes a village. And I don't think a lot of coaches realize that. Because I feel like too many coaches and maybe clubs and maybe teams and whatever say, I developed that player. Mm-hmm. That was me. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I worked with Flash, I was with Abby Dahlkemper and Sam Mewis, and I asked both of them, I go, how many coaches really had a hand in your development? And they both said like 9, they rattled off like 9 coaches. And it's like coaches need to realize that you may be working with that player, but that player is also working with somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And then all of a sudden we all have a hand in this great player. Yeah. And it's like, why don't we celebrate that more versus I developed that player? We developed that, this club developed the player. And it's like, you didn't develop that player. They just started playing with you last year.
Yep.
So that's one of the frustrating things that I get, and that's
I think
why.
it's the American mentality, though.
You think so?
I think, yeah, because everyone wants to put their stake in the ground, And
Yeah.
their reason, justify. They're constantly justifying to themselves and, other people that they're trying to market in, and put their name behind it.
It's a marketing tool too. It's like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I work with her and her and her and her. It's like,
I got to be careful. I was thinking about it when you said that. I'm like, how many times do I say that I've done that? And I'm like, I'm trying to think. I
do that too. You know, like if one of our players scores a college goal, I'll post that. But usually, like if I have a college announcement, I usually post the club's post. So like if a Flash player that I've worked with forever, I post the Flash. So it's like obviously I'm celebrating this kid, but obviously I'm also giving the credit to Flash. Yeah. It's almost like solidarity payments. It's like if a kid comes to a club at 17 and then signs, gets a scholarship to go to Penn State, that club that is going to announce that signing, how about you throw like a tag to her former club? Yeah. Just out of courtesy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we're not like that. And maybe it is the American mentality. Mm-hmm. Of like, I did this. Yeah, you had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all got to be, cognizant and self-aware about it. Because sometimes it is. Because you want to also, take pride in what you're doing as well.
Of course.
And so, you want to know that I did 10 sessions with them and I accomplished this, that that they did get the bang for their buck, that there was that development. So it's a funny line to walk. But yeah, my wife says I need to tag more clubs and stuff in my posts and so forth. But I'm so bad with social media, so it takes me forever to do what I do. So if I'm tagging everyone else, I just got to get better at it or hire someone. But it takes me forever to do social media stuff.
Social media, I don't know. Again, the biggest form of growth has been word of mouth. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that social media has done for me, I don't think it's gotten me actual business. But so you know how this can be, especially with an older player, that they'll come in here and they'll have a complaint about something that happened over the weekend. Maybe with a parent, maybe with a coach, maybe with a teammate, maybe whatever. And then I'll go and write it down. We have a sign-in sheet and I write it down. And then I used to just take my phone and then I would discuss that topic on video. And then I'd post it to YouTube. Mm-hmm. And that's how this kind of started. It was me just talking into a phone by myself, to myself, and posting it. And then every single time that something, and then I always put PlayMaker Training in the description. And all that social media did was build a brand that I was seen as very, very negative because everybody thought I was always talking about Flash. So Flash kind of got very sensitive or defensive about it. And it's no, a lot of the stuff that I would always talk about happened at my old clubs in Michigan. Yeah. But then that's what made me do this. Mm-hmm. And because I want to have conversations with people that I want to talk to and get to know, and because I met you today, right?
Today.
And this has become my passion, my passion project is just talking to guys like you. That I don't know where I was going with that tangent, but the social media aspect. I don't think this podcast is helping me with getting players into PlayMaker Training or anything. Yeah. It's just a brand awareness. Yeah. And that's what's annoying about the social media stuff because I don't know.
So here's what people don't discover me through my Instagram, but they get a referral from me, and then the Instagram is where they go and they just see me in action with the kids and see what I'm doing. and then they're like, oh wow, I want my kid to do that. It almost like solidifies their decision, or it's like the extra push to make the text or call me.
Right.
That's how I more view it. And that's why I like to have a pretty good presence on there around it, because they can kind of know what to expect before it happens.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I think this is a while ago. I remember, I don't know, it just popped in my brain, but Jonah Football. Do you know Jonah Football?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he said that this parent, he said the biggest compliment that I could receive is for you to tell me that I'm exactly like I am on my social media, which shows that just authentic, genuine, like this is what you can expect. And so that's kind of like how I like to view it. That's why when I'm doing the content, I try to, I don't try to chop and screw it, and a lot of my posts will be like a minute long, and you'll see like 5 misses and 4 makes. Like, it's not like I'm not trying to only show the good stuff. I'm showing this is reality, what it looks like. Sometimes the kids are going to mess up, sometimes they're going to do good.
Right.
This is what it is. I'm not just not piecemealing it.
Yeah, because anybody can make a highlight reel.
Yeah, it's not hard to do.
That's why a lot of college coaches don't love the highlight reel. They'd rather come and see you play in a full game. But yeah, because anybody can make a highlight reel, and any technical trainer can just show all the upper 90 shots.
Yeah.
I have some pretty good videos of AJ over the years, and there's times where he'll fall or trip or whatever, and it's like,
it's all part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's how do you get up and take the next rep?
Do you ever think that you'd get a facility?
Maybe.
Or do you like the opportunity to be able to go to teams? Because I feel like that business model is sometimes better than having a brick and mortar, personally.
So I think summer-wise, you go where the market is.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the winter, it just depends. I don't know what the growth is going to be. Like I said, the amount of people that reach out to their teams. So I was only coaching 2 teams. And then the players that were on the teams that were doing my small group sessions, they got so good. Their coaches asked their parents, what have you been doing? And then they reached out. And that's where all these teams came from. I didn't predict that at all. And so, I try, like I said, with my goals, it's like as much as I said them before, I'm still figuring out what the market wants. The market just told me that, hey, they want team sessions, and the coaches want it. So the coaches are doing it as much for me to be training the kids hands-on, but they're out there with them, and I'm talking to them, and they're learning some of the drills I'm doing, so then they can do it on their own as well. I don't have to run every single session that ever exists with a team.
Right.
But they're picking up on all the little things I'm doing and then the overall main drills, and then they're reiterating on its own, which is great. But so when I initially reached out to a lot of coaches way back in the beginning, and that's what I thought there was going to be opportunity in. But then if you think about it, and because the reason why I did this too is I come from a sales background of cold calling, cold emailing, meeting people in person. I'm pretty fearless when it comes to any of that.
Right.
Getting rejection, doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Right.
Whatsoever. So I reached out to a ton of people in the beginning, but when you think about it, me reaching out to a coach and saying, hey, you probably need some development for your team, it doesn't feel right. It needs to, what I've learned, it needs to come from the coach. They need to realize themselves. They don't need somebody to tell them. They need to realize themselves that, hey, some extra help could be beneficial.
Right.
Because what I'm learning about kind of the travel landscape, you don't really have coaching directors going to the coaches and saying, you need to improve this, you need to improve that. Why? Because most are volunteers. You don't be coming down on somebody for not not doing the best possession drills or something like that. A lot of times you're just grateful that they're running that program. And so there's nothing wrong with it. I just learned that that's kind of how it is. But now they're seeing, that's what I've discovered. They're seeing the improvement that I'm making in certain players, and they're like, maybe I could benefit from, somebody that's professional and does this every day, all day, to come out and do it. And it's been awesome with the ones that I've met and trained and developed. And they're some of the people I text the most. They're texting me all the time. I'm giving them feedback. Hey, I did this drill for X, Y, and Z reasons because I saw this. Like, try to do that next time. So it's really not transactional. I'm just, I want to help them get better. They want to get better. They're about it. And so, I realize that's the path that more needs to take to work with the coaches versus me cold outreaching. That didn't work.
Right.
But there is a market. It's just certain coaches who are, that want it and realize it and are seeing it firsthand.
Yeah. And it's almost like they needed that. They needed to see what you were doing before committing to it, because coaches, some have ego. Some people are like, oh, well, you don't need this guy. We don't need him.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So how can people find you? How can people find you?
Yeah. So my website, thetrainingpitch.com.
Yep.
Simple as that. My Instagram handle, honestly don't know what it is. Something training pitch.
Yeah, it's just training pitch.
Yeah, I got that one. Yeah, nice.
That is nice. You don't have to have an underscore or anything.
Yeah.
I have to have PlayMaker _training. It's dumb.
Yeah, my email is thetrainingpitchwny@gmail.com. I couldn't get the training pitch at Gmail, so I had to add in the WNY. And then text me 315-409-5343.
All right. Dude, you just put your phone number out there.
Oh, I put it on. So I love doing that. So I've had my...
I do not.
I've had my phone number on my LinkedIn since I started in sales. And I've been a VP at many companies. And I say, if you want to talk to me, if you want a job, or if you want to sell me your product, then phone me up and let's have a conversation. And it's always been that way. I still believe the same. If you want to learn about me, call me up. Happy to talk to you as long as you want. Give you feedback, all that. And let's have a conversation.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
So
thanks. Is that me or you? Thanks.
That's my wife.
Yeah. You probably got to get going.
Yeah, Bills game tonight, so we got to do final prep for that.
It's going to be 100-0.
Yeah.
Miami's not good, but yeah.
I hate soccer.